Excellent. So welcome to this afternoon's session. Thank you all very, very much for joining us online. Fantastic to see so many people. Got a really cool tasting this afternoon, all about Four Pillars, and going to kick off right away by handing you over to Chesney. And Chesney is the ambassador for Four Pillars based here in New Zealand. And Chesney is going to lead us away, I think. Is that right, Ches?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. So thank you guys for coming. What a great shitty day outside to be sitting inside and drinking some gin. So we're really fortunate to have a really special guest. But before I bring him on, I'm just going to give you a little brief overview about how we're going to do this. So we've given you a bloody lot of gin, so don't try and drink it all today. Basically you've got, in most cases, you've got a gin and you've also got a premixed cocktail. So whenever you've also got the premixed cocktail, or for all the gins, just give yourself a little nip in the glass just to try it first. Drink it neat. If you struggle drinking your spirits neat, you can put a little bit of water in it or an ice cube just to get a taste for the gin first, and I'll talk to the gin at that point. And then we're going to have the cocktails or the signature serves that Four Pillars do. So yeah, that's just a brief overview. Don't try and drink it all. And you've also got some nice tonics as well to enjoy the leftovers with. So that should be good. But before I bring on our very special guest, why don't you pour a little bit of the rare dry gin just to be sipping on and trying while we tell you our fantastic history story. We have Stu Gregor with us, who is one of the founders of Four Pillars, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how Four Pillars got started, what they're all about, and all the craziness that they get up to over there. Are you there, Stu?
I'm here and I'm officially unmuted. Has everyone got me now? Hi, friends. Hi, lovers. Hi, Kiwi cricket fans. Let us not go down that sort of awkward mine of who's going to win on Monday morning at 1 a.m. But I actually said, just as I arrived on the call, I said the cricketing gods owe the Kiwis a win. I'm not going to lie. I genuinely think they do. So I would not be upset, which is very unusual for an Australian to say something as humbling as this. I would not be upset at all if the Kiwis beat us on Sunday night. But we're not here to talk about cricket. We're here to talk about gin. Hi. I'm actually in Sydney, but we make gin in Healesville in the Yarra Valley. But as with you guys, we've been in a sort of weird parallel universe for the last 18 months, which has seen us all locked out of each other's states, and we're still locked out of some states. And I used to go between Sydney and Healesville, our Yarra Valley distillery, every week or two, and I have not been there. I've been there once in the past 18 months. So if Chesney wants to talk about all the wacky and crazy things going on in Victoria over the last year, I've pretty much missed most of them, not going to lie. But we've been in New Zealand actually for the best part of 5 or 6 years. We started making gin in 2013. For those of you who have been around the traps like I have, you might remember in the very early days, we're pretty much, if you go back to 2013, for some of us feels like eons ago, and for many of us it feels like about 6 weeks ago, basically. There weren't that many people making gin in Australia. In fact, we think there was probably 10 or 12 odd distilleries in Australia making gin, from the Margaret River and Kangaroo Island and a couple of other places. Cameron and myself came out of the wine business. So he was living in the Yarra Valley. He was working for a big wine business. I'd been consulting and working for wineries and writing wine books and wine guides and judging wine shows and making wine for 20 years. And we decided we might have a bit of fun making. Originally, we thought we might make tonic. Turns out we had absolutely no interest or particular skill to make soft drinks, but we had a very great enthusiasm for making hard liquor. And when we started making hard liquor in Healesville in 2013, as I said, there were probably 10 or 12 people making gin in Australia. There's now over 200 standalone distilleries making gin in Australia. So it's gone crazy. It's going crazy in New Zealand. It's going crazy all around the world. And we were lucky enough, I suppose, to be just at the forward end of this huge gin craze that's sort of swallowing up the world of alcohol at the moment. This is our rare dry gin. This is the very first gin we ever made, and this is the most important gin. So if you do want to have a little bit of a taste of this, I would suggest you do. I'm having it right now as a gin and tonic. So I don't know what, I know you guys have got a fair bit of East Imperial tonic over there or Fever Tree, but use a good tonic. Kenobi was a great tonic that came out of New Zealand for a while.
They've got East Imperial with them.
Which one? Burma or Indian?
Burma,
Which one?
yeah. Burma, yeah.
That's actually one of my favourite tonics. That's a really, I don't know if that was designated or that's just complete fluke, but that's a bloody great tonic and really good product and goes really well with our gins, particularly this one. First bit of advice when you're making a gin and tonic: don't swamp all the bloody gin with too much tonic. Right? We go not more ever than 3 parts to 1. Right? So what we tend to say is 45 mils of gin and 100 to 120 mils of tonic, and that's it. But don't swamp it with a whole 200 mil or 185 mil of a. Is that a 200 mil bottle? That East Imperial probably is, I think. You should. Or 185.
So that's a 150, but everyone's got a 500 ml bottle, so take it easy.
Yeah.
Don't use the 500. Don't use the 500 ml bottle in one gin and tonic, please, people. I mean, you do have 450 mils of booze. I just got told, which is a personal Zoom record for me for a Saturday afternoon. So congratulations to the Kiwis.
If today got cancelled, the plan was just to toss it all in a bucket and just fill it back.
World leaders again. Congratulations. But we started making gin 7 years ago, and we have been very lucky to have won a few awards. One of the things that we try to do with all of our gins, we definitely do with all of our gins, is we use some unique Australian botanicals in them. You know? So this one in particular has got lemon myrtle and Tasmanian pepperberry, alongside lots and lots of juniper. We believe that gin is juniper, and we use juniper as the canvas on which we sort of paint the colours with other botanicals. And you'll see all sorts of different gins that we make. You'll probably have an olive leaf gin today. I think you're going to have the rare dry gin. You may even have a spiced Negroni gin, I think, as part of the mix. It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? But I'm actually doing this from my home. And even when I look at myself, I see that drinks cabinet behind me and I go, you have a problem. And I do have a problem. Although my keen-eyed observer from Glengarry has already noticed the particular bottle of Michter's whiskey that I've got behind me, actually, which is a 10-year-old American bourbon, which is absolutely Mickey Mouse product. But we're not here to talk about Michter's either. So that's Four Pillars Distillery. We're in Healesville in the Yarra Valley. For those of you who, when we're all allowed travel again, please do come visit us. We're actually in the middle of developing what I think will become a really world-class distillery destination. We will be open in March. We were hoping to be open in about 2 weeks in December, but as you did, we've had a complete lockdown and then also a complete and utter close down of construction for the best part of 3 months in Victoria. So we're way behind in our development, but we're going to have what I think will be one of the world's great distillery destinations, just 45 to 50 minutes outside of Melbourne. So next time you're coming over for cricket, you're coming over for tennis, you come whatever reason you've got to come to Melbourne, please come and visit. It's going to be a pretty amazing place, and we do want to have lots and lots of Kiwi visitors because it's cost us so much money, and of course we haven't had any bloody customers for the last 9 months. So I was about to say we're almost going broke, but you know what? The beauty of lockdown is people are still drinking, so we can't complain about that. But it is a beautiful. It's kind of a fun story. I'm actually coming over to New Zealand in May because I think there's a great, rich opportunity for great craft spirits in the New Zealand market as well. But for now, I'm super happy that you're drinking even just a little bit of our Four Pillars gins, and I do hope you like this. This, being the first gin that we ever made, was the gin that launched us. It was the first Australian gin to win a double gold at the World Spirits Competition in San Francisco. It's done that 3 subsequent times. And we're very lucky in both 2019 and 2020, but alas, not 2021. We've been awarded the International Gin Producer of the Year at the IWSC. Now, there's the biggest spirits competition in the world, run out of London, the oldest, most prestigious, and the biggest spirits competition in the world. And for 19 and 20, we actually were the International Gin Distiller of the Year. For 2021, I think the winner was announced 2 weeks ago, and the Kyoto Distillery won it, who make Kenobi, which I think is distributed by the same people as us in New Zealand, or it certainly was. Magnificent gins. If you do need to go, if you really want to have some fun, go and find yourself some Kenobi Gin from the Kyoto Distillery. If you're going to get beat, it's all right to get beat by that distillery. We've actually been over there and we've made a gin with them actually, and the gins are exquisite, and the distillers are great guys, and they're a wonderful team. So it's very beautiful. I'm going to say hi, Ches.
Yeah,
Ches,
all good.
Ches is going to talk you through a couple of the gins, and because I've literally got nothing else to do, I'll probably just stay on the line. And if you do want to pop a chat or a question, or if I notice that Chesney has said something that is a complete and utter untruth, I'll just pop back in. I'll wave to Liz. I'll give Liz the secret sign, right? I'll hold up an orange, Liz. I'm just going to have to go and get an orange. If I'm holding up an orange, Chesney's completely live. But we do use fresh oranges. That's why you will have noticed when I'm making my gin and tonic with this, always got a fresh orange as a garnish. It's one of the unique things about our rare dry gin is that we use fresh oranges in the botanical basket. So everything goes basically into the pot, except anything that's fresh. And with this one, it's all about fresh oranges. So with our rare dry gin, just use a good tonic like that East Imperial, a good slug of gin, 45 to 50 mils of gin. I mean, you're at home. You don't have to drive anywhere. Apparently, there's people just driving around Auckland at 50 k's an hour for unknown reasons today. So just stay at home. You've got all afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. That is actually gin o'clock. I mean, it's a little pre-gin o'clock here. I'm not going to lie, but so what? Saturday afternoon.
Cool. Thanks.
And great gin. And one day soon, like I'm talking like next week, you're going to get these. World premiere. Four Pillars Rare Dry Gin and Tonic in a tin. I'm not going to lie. That's what I'm drinking. I'm looking like a sophisticated guy who's made his own gin and tonic from scratch. I just emptied the tin. That's all I did. Fucking lazy bastard. Go, Ches. What do you got, mate?
Cool. All right. Hey, T, I've actually got a bit of a prezzo if you don't mind sharing the screen. I meant to set that up beforehand. We got so distracted talking about the weather and traffic. But if you can share a screen with me, that'd be great. But thank you, Stu, for talking about...
Go for it, Ches. You're all set now.
Cool. Let me bang that on. Share screen. Bear with me, everybody. All right, so I think in theory that should work. Can everyone see that? Yeah, cool. I see some thumbs. Okay, cool. So thank you, Stu, for talking about the rare dry gin as comprehensively as you did, because a lot of those themes are going to come back up with rare dry being the basis of a lot of the gins that we do. So a lot of fundamentals that are going to come back through in kind of the approach that Four Pillars take to making great gin. So I presume we're all through with the rare dry. So let's hop on over to the olive leaf. Does anyone have their olive leaf? Do yourself a little bit of a nip, get a little bit of a try. Yeah, she's holding a bottle. I've got one too, fancy boys. And let's just give it a little bit of a taste to begin with. So I believe the story goes, correct me if I'm wrong, Stu, but the legend goes that Cam touched down, got off a plane among a bunch of olive groves. So Cam is one of the other founders of Four Pillars and arguably the most important, but he is the, sorry, Stu, no offense, but
Mate, I'm right here. I'm actually here. This is still in.
I thought you'd left. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed.
Go on. I won't interrupt.
Okay. No orange. You didn't raise an orange, so I'll take that as a sign of truth.
I'm going to go get an orange.
So Cam is the distiller and one of the three founders, and he is basically the brains and the mouth of the whole operation. And he sat down off a plane among an olive grove, and he just took a smell of the air around him and was just hit with the smell of the leaves of those olive trees. So he said, bloody hell, let me just make, you might see, Stu, I waited till you leave to actually tell the story, but he said, bloody hell, let's just make a savory gin that has all that wonderful olive flavor. I will say up top, one thing that puts a lot of people off the olive leaf gin is that a lot of people don't like olives. And they think, well, if I don't like olives, I'll never enjoy an olive leaf gin. But really, it has all the best qualities of extra virgin olive oil, savory botanicals, and it's just like smooth and it's got a wonderful texture. So it's not at all like just eating a bitter olive. It does make the world's greatest martini. And a thing that you might see across some of our gins is that the gins themselves are designed to make the perfect version of whatever cocktail they go into. They're awesome standalone, but they really are just geared to just absolutely nail a particular cocktail. So this, as you can imagine, makes the perfect dry martini. It also makes a cracking gin tonic, Spanish style. So let me talk a little bit about what makes this gin really special. I think one of the things that makes it the most special is the botanicals. So there's a couple really interesting and unique botanicals that go into this one, that go into the pot. As Stu was saying, that anything that's not fresh goes into the pot. So macadamia is a big one in there, and that's where you get a lot of that viscosity, that silkiness, and much of the texture. And I think that's one of the things that does come out in the nose in a very subtle way, but it's one of those things that just makes it so chewable. And then obviously the signature botanical that drives this whole thing is the olive leaf. And I believe it was it 2001, Stu, the best botanical, signature botanical? That's when the award was?
2020.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is this is the newest gin that's joined our portfolio as a full-time member of it. We make a few little limited release ones. I think you might try the Spice Trade a little bit later, which is just a limited release, one-off collaboration gin we made with an Indian distillery. So the Red Raijin is our original one, and it's very much a lifted floral. You can see those beautiful oranges, that sort of character in the Red Raijin. This is very much meant to be a savoury gin. This is very much interestingly. I just got off a call yesterday with the Americans, and they're now referring to this as a rocks gin, as in a gin that you have just over ice, which is unusual. Like it's kind of a martini. It's like a super dry martini, if you like. It's just basically all gin. And this has now become our second most popular gin in the US. So we're in about 20 odd. Kay, we are on the olive leaf gin. Number 2. It won the world's best single-use botanical at the World Gin Awards last year. So that's out of the UK as well. It is all about, for us, I mean, this is all about, we like to make gins that have a particular purpose. And this is very much about a martini. So I don't believe, and I hope this to be the case, that, I mean, you horrified me when you said there are people on earth who don't like olives. Like, seriously, that's the strange folks.
I came out of the womb loving olives, so I don't understand these people.
There are also people who don't like anchovies. And I mean, I could show you how many anchovies I've got in my cupboard at the moment. But anyway, this is olive leaf gin. So that is a great sipping gin. So when you're going to make a martini, make sure it's super cold. You want a super cold glass. You want super cold gin. You want super cold vermouth. Like, store your vermouth like you would store a wine, right? Once you've opened your vermouth, don't just leave it open and out like I just noticed over my shop. Don't just leave it open in ambient temperature for like the best part of 6 months, because it'll be oxidized. So treat it. It's an aromatized wine vermouth. So it's actually, only normally 16 to 17% alcohol, so it will oxidize much more quickly than a spirit. Most of your spirits you can keep open for as long as you like. But with your vermouth, keep it cold. And a dry martini is less vermouth. A wet martini is more vermouth. And you can get right up to 50-50, which is, a good slug of 60 ml of gin and 60 ml of vermouth. And then you've got yourself a pretty wet martini.
Why don't we use this opportunity to introduce the signature serve?
Go for it.
While we're talking martinis, I don't mean to cut you off to continue on, but I figure we might as well get people drinking the martinis once I just give them a little bit of an instruction with these. So let's take your little olive leaf martini bottle, and then most of these are just organized so that you can throw them on some ice and give them a stir or give them a shake if that's what your heart desires. Go for it. But yeah, grab a little bit of ice, and then stir it around a little bit just to get a little bit more of that dilution, and then it should be pretty much ready to go straight off the bat. So obviously you wouldn't normally leave ice in a martini, but needs must across Zoom, I believe. And I think most of you have been asked to include a little bit of a shaker or a mixer. So if you've got that, perfect. I see Anthony's got his little strainer and everything, so he's well prepared. If you don't, that's totally fine. This is ready to go straight off the bat. Put it all in the glass, and then if you have a skewer, even better. If you have olive, even bloody better. And then you can garnish with that. So
does everyone drink martinis? Who's a martini fan? Thumbs up if you're a martini fan on the call. Good. It's pretty hard not to love a martini. I'm not going to lie. I may have had a couple of martinis last night, which that's why
my favorite.
That's why I look so great today. But I mean, and did anyone watch the chess show? What was it called? The Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Which was an amazing Netflix show that was sort of maybe launched late last year or maybe early this year. It brought the Gibson back. So if you watch the Queen's Gambit, you will have noticed. I think the main character would always be sipping on a Gibson, which is a dryish martini, sometimes with a little bit of dry sherry in it, and a cocktail onion, pickled onions. And I got to admit, the Gibson is my all-time favourite way to drink a martini. So if you've got a little cocktail onion, I mean, I'm not talking the giant ones you get at the takeaway, at the takeout, when you buy a hamburger and you get the giant pickled onions. Don't try to put one of them in. Apart from anything else, it'll just splash all the martini out and you'll just end up with a pickled onion in your glass. Sorry, Ches, where were you, mate? You're doing a great job.
It's all good. I guess I kind of wanted to also talk about a few other things that make the gin really special before we move away from it. So I think that obviously we were talking about the signature botanical being olive leaf, and olive leaf tea is basically what they make by throwing a whole bunch of those olive leaves into the pot. But we also have to talk about the olive oil, which is a very, very unique botanical to use. When have you ever heard about someone distilling olive oil? Four Pillars does. So they basically tip about 1 litre worth of extra virgin olive oil from Cobram Estate in every batch. And then by closing all of the plates that you get in the column still, it basically lets all of the most volatile oil through, so you don't get any of that heavy, stodgy oil, and you end up with a beautiful, bright, clean spirit that still has the essence of olive oil. So to the mythical people who don't like olives, I'd say, don't think about olives, think about how delicious olive oil can be, and then just put it in a glass and drink it. And then the other savory botanicals that are really awesome are rosemary. It goes into it as well, and that just gives it really nice savory quality. Yeah, oh yeah, Stu's pointing at a lemon. I'll get to the lemon. And bay leaf is the other savory one. So the lemon, the lemon is really important to the citrus balance of it all. So Stu mentioned that anything that is fresh goes into the basket. So in this process, I'm going to try and give you this mental diagram of the process, but whatever comes out of the distilling pot then goes through a botanical basket, which basically just holds all the fresh citrus or any fresh ingredients, and that basically pulls the vapor and the steam through it before it goes through to the column, which I talked about, and then all distills further from there. But that basket is really key to getting really fresh, volatile oils that you get from citrus, all those really light oils that come off of the rind and from the fruit itself. That's really key. And lemon is what's in this guy. So that's really important for contrasting the savoriness and giving it a nice lifted quality and balancing it out. And it also happens to be what makes a cracking gin tonic, which is basically a Spanish version of a gin and tonic. Basically, it's the same as a gin and tonic, more or less, a little bit of difference in ratio, but typically it's garnished with a sprig of rosemary and a slice of lemon. So if you are done with your martini and you're over them and you have a little bit of tonic to spare for the next 2 minutes, then have a little crack at that. It's bloody awesome. Or just do that in your alone time. Little gin, tonic, so the tonic, and then olive leaf, and then sprig of rosemary, and a slice of lemon. It's bloody refreshing. Makes you want to take a siesta. Sorry, Stu, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to the olive leaf?
It's delicious. And I mean, we make it with a guy called Cobram Estate, who you may or may not have heard of. It's a really great Australian oil producer. They also make olive leaf tea, and they have like thousands of hectares of olive groves up on which you can just actually see there. That they're being harvested right there. That olive oil is cold pressed and transported to our distillery within hours. So it is super fresh. The olive harvest is in sort of March, April, about the same time we harvest grapes in the Yarra Valley. Super fresh, super fruity. Like, olives are amazing fruit. We have different varieties. So we've actually ended up choosing particular varieties of olive to give us the sort of flavors that we want. One of them is called Picual. The other one is called Hoji Blanca. So we've got sort of individual varietal olive oils in the gin itself. So it's pretty unique, and we hope you like it. And it's a gin that, for me, is the best sipping gin we've made, which is why it goes so well in a martini. Just serve it really cold, some ice. If you do want to have some vermouth, just put a little bit of your favorite dry vermouth in it, and that's a great way to ease yourself into a Saturday night with nothing else to do, just like all of us here.
So I'm seeing a few questions. Sorry to just jump in, but someone was asking what the first one is, and the first one is the rare dry gin. I think that's what the question is. And then is the martini with gin in the little tasting bottle? Yeah, so there is a martini specific one. I think it says at the bottom, olive leaf martini. So that's the pre-mixed martini that we've got there.
Has everyone got that? Thumbs up. Everyone sorted then?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Kay has asked. Is that everyone? Has everyone kind of enjoyed their little martinis? Do we want to sit on a bit more, ask a few questions, or are we ready to move on?
I actually so I just poured that pre-mix into my shaker over ice, not for like too long because I didn't want to dilute it too much. But for some reason I've run out of olives, but I can tell you gherkins and a bit of gherkin brine just works just a treat as well. So it's garnished with gherkin for me, and it's brilliant.
I've done that.
Let's be honest, yeah. It's a fancy cucumber. It's been pickled, and it's a great garnish. And so if you like that's a dirty martini. So a dirty martini is one where you just put a little bit of olive brine or pickle brine or something like that in to give it that sort of extra hit of sort of salty, earthy flavor. So that's what a dirty martini is. So if you're a bit confused, you don't know what a dirty martini or a dry martini or a wet martini or what the hell martini is, or a Gibson martini, that should give you a little bit of the beautiful thing about the martini is everyone has it's a bit like coffee. Everyone has their like people who drink martinis take their martinis extremely seriously, and they have a very precise ratio, and particularly in America, like they have a very precise ratio of how much gin they want to put to vermouth, how much olive, how much brine should go into it, so how dirty it should be. And that's where people get great relationships with their bartenders. Like they say, right, I like mine off dry. It's a bit like, I like it medium rare, but rare, the rare end of medium rare, not the medium end of medium rare, medium rare. And so it's like that with, your coffee. I like 3 shots, and then I just want it filled, not 3/4 of the latte, just like more like 7/8, and not too much froth, but just a little bit of froth. And like people are like that with their martinis. We get more complicated martini orders in our bar. So we got a little bar in Sydney. For those of you who can't make it to Hillsville, we have a little place called the Four Pillars Laboratory, which is in Surrey Hills. It just sort of just in the outskirts of the Sydney CBD. So, which is where we experiment with all our cocktails, which is where we make amazing drinks. Hillsville is where we make amazing gin. Sydney Laboratory is where we experiment with great cocktail makers from all over the world, and particularly some of our guys are really, really great. And that's where we try to teach people. We've also got a beautiful little still there called Eileen, actually, and that's the bar's called Eileen's. We teach people how we make our gins, but mainly the Sydney property is all about how to make great drinks. And we've got a really, really, really great bar there. But should we talk about Gin 3? What's Gin 3, Chess?
Yeah, I'm looking at the time. I think it's a good idea. So hopefully everyone's kind of caught up, but I would encourage you now to put a little bit of a dash of the navy strength in a little glass by itself. Oh, I saw Stu's face light up. He can't wait. He's so excited. In fact, I'm going to let him tell the story about why it's called navy strength, because I've seen him tell it before and he gets very, very animated. But first, I'll just kind of introduce you to the gin itself. So basically, this is a classic navy strength gin, except that it's got some interesting Asian botanicals that make it really special. Now, I want you to kind of have a little bit of a smell to begin with, and I'm going to tell you some of the botanicals that are in there, and I'm hoping that some little light bulbs are going to go off. So some of the botanicals that make this really interesting are fresh ginger. Wow, do you get that? Delicious. And another big one that makes a big difference is turmeric, which is kind of a little bit unusual to use as a botanical in a gin, but really it does give this wonderful earthiness and this body and this kind of like almost a dill-like green quality. So this is a favorite gin among bartenders and spirit enthusiasts because it's got wonderful, big, powerful flavor, but it's still incredibly smooth. You would not think that it's 58.8%. That's insane to say that it is, but it's the truth. So Stu, do you want to talk about why it's called Navy Strength Gin?
Well, it's extremely strong, first of all. For drink 3, you have 2 bottles. One is the Navy Strength Gin straight, and the other bottle is a ready-to-go cocktail.
Ready to go Southside.
It's a Southside. Oh my God, it's my wife's favorite, my wife's absolute favorite drink. So a Southside is a wonderful drink. So you've got basically strong gin, some lime, a little bit of sugar syrup, and then some mint, right? And that's what makes a fantastic Southside, which is just a version of a gimlet. And the gimlet is, in fact, what gave Navy strength gin its definition, because Navy strength gin was basically gin that would go aboard the British Navy ships. And essentially, the sailors would get a shot of strong gin and a shot of lime in order to prevent them from getting scurvy. And what used to happen is, obviously, there were a few, let's call them less than reputable distillers, particularly down in Portsmouth and Plymouth and the areas where the ships would sail from, who would try to water down the spirit and make the gin weak. And the Navy soon figured out that weak gin, when spilt on gunpowder, the gunpowder wouldn't light. Fairly simple if you think of it, more water than ethanol. Yeah, make a bit of sense. But strong gin, if they put some on the gunpowder, you would still be able to light the gunpowder. So they simply did a test. And gin that was over about 57%, no one has an exact number. So more ethanol than water, makes a bit of sense, yeah, and enough for it not to be too close to the 50-50, became known as Navy strength gin. And the Royal Navy would only let that strength of gin go aboard their ships. Now, similarly, for those of you who've ever drunk some of the great rums, the same thing happened when they went to the Caribbean. They would get rum on board and they would have Navy strength rum. And that, when they were doing rum, they were proving how strength it was. And that's where overproof and underproof has come from. If it was over 50% in alcohol, it was overproof. And if it was under 50% in alcohol, it was underproof. They needed to prove that it was strong by testing it on the gunpowder. The Navy strength is a phenomenal drink. I mean, it's very expensive in Australia in particular because, oh my God, there's Jez. He doesn't work for us anymore, that lovely bearded distiller, but he's a very great guy. He actually works for a really cool little distillery in Noosa. For those of you who are heading to the Sunshine Coast anytime in the next 17 odd years, once we all reopen the borders, there's a great little distillery in the Sunshine Coast at Noosa, and that Jez, that handsome bearded dude there, is actually working for them and stolen all of our ideas and delivering them almost as well at a small distillery on the Sunshine Coast. Interestingly, it is the most awarded Navy strength gin in the world. Now, it has won the world's best Navy strength gin 5 times in a row, 5 out of 6 years, I think it was, from memory. And it's particularly strong, and it goes incredibly well because the other ingredient, the other key botanical that we use in this is little native Australian finger limes. Right, so if you haven't seen an Aussie finger lime, just Google it. They're, strangely enough, they're about the size of a finger. And you cut them down, you cut through them, and they've got this little citrus caviar, these incredible little baubles of intense citrus flavour. Like they're an amazing garnish if you're having oysters or something like that. You'll often see them. And they're native to Australia, so we grow most of them up sort of in the northern rivers of New South Wales, where there's some other cash crops growing up there as well, it seems. But anyway, we just stick to the finger limes at the moment. Well, do we? I suspect Jez might have not just bought finger limes from the guy who we sourced it, but that's another issue. That probably is why he's back in southeast Queensland. But that's the Navy strength. So it is. Be careful. That is a very strong drink, but that's 58.8% ABV. Right, so that if you do have a gun handy or some gunpowder, you can test it. I'm not going to recommend you do that. In fact, I can't believe I just said that. And I would never have said that on an American call like this, because the fact is that most of them probably do have a gun, just handy, just sitting, just slightly out of reach. So don't use guns, people. You're too smart. Can we move on? Chess, how did I end up getting in a gun debate?
Honestly, I don't know. I looked away for a second. Look at that. We were talking about gun reform. Oh my God.
Don't ask me what that is. That was a joke.
Now that everyone's had a little try of the Navy strength, I'm going to talk to you briefly about the next cocktail and try and make it nice and clear about what we're going to have. And it's a South Side. So you'll have a more opaque bottle, a second bottle. So that is good by itself. I'll tell you how to prepare it in a minute. I'll tell you how to prepare it now. If you've got a glass, get it ready. Do the same. It's pretty much the same process as last time, more or less, with a slight difference. But get some ice, put it in a shaker or a jar or whatever you've got. I'm going to do it while I talk to you, and portion out what you want to do. Remember that this is 40. I'm doing Donald Trump hands. Remember, it's 45%. It's 58.8%. So it's really strong. So you might even want to share one or just kind of portion however much you want. So put that baby in a shaker, however much you decide to put in. I'm just eyeballing it. And what this consists of in here is sugar syrup, simple syrup, and lime juice. And the basic story behind the South Side and why it has those ingredients is because apparently Mr. Al Capone, naughty boy he was bringing in all this harsh bathtub gin, and they needed those to basically counter the flavor. And it was so popular around the south side of Chicago that it was called the South Side. So now you've got it in your shaker. Again, put a little bit of ice in there. And you can either, if you can shake it if you like, they do recommend, normally I think you'd shake it for about 8 seconds really hard, or you can just sort of swirl it around for 30 seconds one way, 30 seconds the other way, and it should give you a similar level of dilution. And then when you're ready, strain that into your glass. Oh, actually, sorry, my bad. I forgot one key ingredient. I'm so sorry. I forgot one key ingredient on the South Side, which is the mint. So what you do is grab, oh yeah, I'm seeing a few people down there doing the mint, but they've also been taking shots this whole time, so I'm a little bit concerned. Take your mint leaves. Normally for a full-sized South Side, you'd use about 7 mint leaves, but if you're doing a half one, you could probably get away with using 3, and just pop them into your shaker. So this is why it's important to shake it, because you really want to break up those leaves and allow them to release their aroma and their flavor. But a lot of people do recommend double straining. So that's something to think about. If you don't want lots of little bits, if you can't double strain it, then don't worry about it. But for me, I'm just going to shake it up. I've got a chopstick, if you find that easier, to do a little bit of a stir. And then we're going to pour it into our glass by straining it. I've got a miniature one because I've still got like a bunch more gins to present. And then finally, for the garnish, the all-important garnish, you want to get a little sprig of mint. Mine's just disintegrating in my hand, so excuse me. Thanks a lot, Countdown Metro. You want to get a little sprig of mint, comme ça, and give a little clap bartender style, and then you can drop that into your drink, and that gives all that wonderful fresh mint aroma, so that when you sip it, you then get hit with all the beautiful gin, lime, and sugar that's in there. And it's such a refreshing drink. It's an amazing cocktail for a hot day. And as we've heard, it's Stu's wife's favorite drink. So obviously there's something to that. Do you have anything you want to say for yourself, Stu?
I mean, I love my wife, but I mean, you can't gauge her taste on the basis of who she chose to marry. So whether or not you like the South Side or not, it's up to you. It does go down very quickly, Liz. It is a sensational drink, the South Side. So if you it's a perfect start to a Saturday night of drinking. It's a perfect start to a Sunday morning of drinking. It's a great Tuesday drink. I find it an excellent Wednesday mid-morning sort of refresher. And sometimes I think it's a lovely Thursday before nightcap drink as well. Doesn't really suit whatever day I left out, maybe Tuesday.
So I'd say that one of the main things that this achieves, this cocktail, with what the gin has to offer, is that as I said, Al Capone was trying to use these flavors to kind of mask the harshness of basically shit gin. We happen to have very good gin, but it still is a really good match because it does have that higher level of alcohol, and it's got so much flavor in it that when you put that really strong gin in there with those ingredients, they just match perfectly, and it makes it such a perfectly balanced cocktail. Absolutely delicious. I see someone saying, yeah, it goes down way too easily, and I cannot agree more.
Cool. Stuart, we've just had a question wondering whether we can get that gin and that drink in a can, please.
No.
Well, we have to ask.
The other, I can tell you what though. So who most people are probably sitting there thinking he doesn't really do any work. But what we are doing is we are going to do some more gins in a can, and I've actually got some. So this is my job. I've actually got some samples here of potentially a bloody Shiraz gin ready to drink. And I'll tell you what else I just was doing yesterday was experimenting with yuzu. So if you can everyone see that? That's my yuzu number 2. For those of you who are interested, I like yuzu number 1 more than yuzu number 2. But we will do something with our Navy strength. The other thing that makes an incredible drink that we actually serve at our bar in Sydney is a ginger mule, right? Which is, oh, there it is right there. Boom, how good are you? Is that a ginger mule? Yeah, because we put a lot of fresh ginger in this gin. So it's an incredible drink with gin and lime. So gin, ginger and lime, right? So that's a fantastic drink. And that's why, lime and mint go so well with the South side. But my favorite way of drinking this is if you've got a great bottle of like ginger beer, ginger ale, whatever your favorite ginger drink is, stick some mint in there, as we've got right there, stick some lime in there, and then just have it with gin and ginger. It's such a refreshing. Gin and ginger is the most, not many people drink it, and they're crazy. It's one of the seriously great drinks of the world. Keep moving, Ches. You're doing a great job. How good's Ches? Let's get a little golf clap for how excellent Ches is. He's a pretty new addition to the team.
Brand new. Mr. Kiwi over here.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the accent. Is anyone else thinking that Kiwi?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mixy mongrel. Definitely a bit of a mixture. I was born a bunch of different places, so I'll leave it at that. I see there's a question here. Someone just asked again, what is the mix in the bottle? So I'm not sure what the ratio, because Glengarry packed them all up in these lovely labeled bottles. How amazing is that? I'm not sure what the ratio is, but the ingredients are lime juice and sugar syrup. A lot of cocktails do it in a 1-to-1 ratio, and some others do in a sort of a 2 parts to 2/3, mostly lime. Oh, sorry, mostly sugar syrup. Okay, I think I'm ready to move on after having a sort of brain fart.
Does anyone want Stuart's easy cocktail philosophy? But you can make anything with this. 3 parts strong, 2 parts sour, 1 part sweet. Right? Just do that. So your strong one, you whatever that happens to be, that can be gin, tequila, whiskey, whatever it is. Then 2 parts sour, and then 1 part sweet. Particularly in the US, they tend to they swap those 2 around, and you end up with cocktails that are simply too sweet because they've got 2 parts sweet, 1 part sour. But you can use any sort of subtle variations on that. But that's my Stuart's most rudimentary rule of cocktail making. Right? If you're ever in doubt, go 3, 2, 1, and you'll make something half decent. Promise.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stuart. On to the next gin. So here we go, Spiced Negroni Gin. This is the passion project of so many people who love Negronis. Negronis are so hot right now, and we do not let you down with the Negroni Gin. So again, a lot of people think that this is a gin that's designed specifically only to go with Negronis, or that it is a Negroni in a bottle. It's not. It's a gin that's purposely made specifically to go with a Negroni and to really shine with the other ingredients of a Negroni. So it's perfect for a Negroni, but like the other ones, it's really great on its own. And personally, it's one of my favorite sippy ones because I love big, bold flavors. So let me talk to you a little bit about the kind of origin of it. So the legend goes, yeah, he's pointing at a Campari. Oh, so it goes, okay, I think I'm reading the miming and vermouth, very good. So the botanicals in the Negroni in the Negroni Gin are to perfectly balance with the Campari and the vermouth. But I'll get into that in a minute. Supposedly the story goes, I think Cam was drinking a whole bunch of Negronis, and it may have involved Stuart as well. But I think the idea was that they, sorry, someone just asked a question. Yeah. So okay. So to clarify with the question, so the first one we're trying is the gin by itself, the clear bottle. And then the second is a pre-mixed Negroni. So hold up on that one and give yourself a little splash of the Negroni gin by itself, because we're just going to investigate that gin first, and then we're going to get into the Negroni as a signature serve. So Cam was trying a whole bunch of different Negronis, but they were finding that the Negronis they really loved were the ones where the gin really came and shone through. So that was the goal with this one, was to make a gin that is big enough to stand up to the really big flavors that are in a Negroni. So how do they do that? Well, to start with, there are about 3 times as many oranges in the basket. So there really is a big, pungent, fresh orange flavor. And fresh, I think, really is the key word, because that orange flavor that comes through is like when you like cut an orange rind and you just get a little burst of it in your face. That is, that's the first one. And then there are also some extra spices that make it a little bit more interesting as well. So one of them is kubeb, which is a little sort of almost like a pepper grain that comes from Indonesia. And it's got a really nice, hot, powerful, warm flavor that goes in there. And that's a fairly typical one to use in, that's kind of a classic botanical that a lot of different distilleries use. And the other key one is grains of paradise, which is an African grain, and it's got a fiery little hot pepper. And that also gives a lot of spice character, a lot of warmth, and just makes it perfect to go. It gives the gin a bit more power to go really well with the other ingredients in a Negroni. So yeah, I think it's bloody awesome. And I think it's really, like, for me, I love big, bold flavors. You know, I like an IPA. I like a big hefty Shiraz. I like my flavors to wrestle me. I like a black coffee. So I think a lot of people who have a similar appreciation of flavor, they really gravitate to Negroni even by itself. So I'm keen to know what you guys think about it.
Does anyone know the story of how the Negroni was created? It's quite a fun story, actually, because there was actually a guy, and it was 100 years ago, Count Camillo Negroni. There was actually a dude who lived in Florence, or as someone as sophisticated as Chesney would say, Firenze. I was just thinking to myself, if you've ever seen a Negroni made really badly, you want to go onto the Instagram or the internet machine and Google Stanley Tucci makes a Negroni. He's a wonderful actor and a very hilarious man, but the worst cocktail maker in the internet. But his making a Negroni is one of the, it's a meme. It's super fabulous. So if you want to go and do something exciting, I mean, Pip looks like she's doing something exciting. What are we doing there? Turning on the telly. She's got the remote out, and about 900 bottles of gin in front of her, it looks like. But Count Camillo Negroni walked in because we were just talking about the bold flavors, right? So you've got this, right? So that's from Milano. Yeah, everyone. Campari is Milan. Milan is Campari. The headquarters of Campari are basically on the main drag of Milan. And this is just a version of sweet vermouth, which is from Turin or Torino, yeah? Piedmont, so a very famous wine region up the north of Italy, is where you get most of your sweet vermouth. So up around Turin, you know, Barolo, Barbaresco, you know, where they've got famous Nebbiolo grapes and that sort of stuff. There was a great drink at the turn of the century called a Milano Torino, which was just equal parts of Campari and vermouth, right? And very evocatively named Milano Torino, same as the bike race, just FYI. When the Americans were in Italy during the First World War, they couldn't deal with the Milano Torino, and they also couldn't deal with strong espresso coffee. So there were actually two drinks created pretty much at the same time, both called Americanos. And an Americano is Campari, is what the Italians were drinking with a whole lot of soda in it. An Americano coffee is an Italian coffee with a whole lot of water in it. Right, so basically what the Americanos both were adulterations of great Italian drinks given an American name. And Negroni walked in one day, having had a difficult day in 1919 to a bar in Florence and said, sub out the soda, I want something strong. And the bartender just simply put gin in it in equal parts. So an equal part of Campari, sweet vermouth, and gin. So it's actually a breach of my rule. It's one part strong, a second part strong, and a third part strong. It's a very strong drink, Campari, because there's very few cocktails that are just three actual liquors, right? So there's no modifying agents in it at all. So it is the Negroni is a drink to have when you've got a job to do. I mean, not an actual job to do, not like running machinery or anything like that. But you know, if you need to get somewhere in your own headspace in a hurry, a Negroni is always a good way to get there. It's a facilitator of good times. Wow, a little bit of what time is it? Suntory time.
And on that note, let's
lost in translation. A little Bill Murray there, for you all. I'll mute myself. All right, Ches.
No, I love it. I love the enthusiasm and the history of the Negroni. But let's make our own to get into the future of the Negroni. And take your red, you'll see it's the red liquid here in the bottle. And this is also already pre-made, so you don't have to worry about mixing any other gin with it or anything, unless you like one a little stronger. And just pour that over ice. This is okay to pour straight into the glass over ice, and then we'll just give it a bit of a mix in the ice. And as she was talking about before, the all-important ingredient for this one is also the garnish. And what better to garnish a Negroni with than a nice fresh orange? So what I like the way that our special bartender James describes it as an orange has two nipples, just like you and me. And what we want to do for our first cut is cut it straight down the middle, nipple to nipple. I'm sorry about how many times I've just said the word nipple. And then make a slice, 2 slices straight down the middle, and that should give you a perfect orange slice. You guys saw how good the orange slice looked in Stu's G&T before, and it made me absolutely want one. So here you go. You should get an orange slice that looks like that, picturesque. That looks like summer, doesn't it? And then you should have a little Negroni. Also, apologies, I don't have very good eyesight. I got into lockdown before I could buy any glassware. So my glassware is wine glasses pretty much. But hey, you got what you got. And Negronis are super popular right now. Everyone's enjoying Negronis. It seems like they're having their moment. I see everyone on Instagram is always saying, "Oh, Negroni night," and they're just like chugging them back. So, you know, respect. But yeah, I think this is the right Negroni. And what you should be able to get from that is that the gin is still shining through. You still get that little juniperiness that makes it distinctively gin, but then you should also get that extra flavor from the botanicals that is also wrapped into the gin, the cubeb and the grains of paradise and the extra orange. As
saw someone lighting orange peel, which was like full class. I'm not gonna lie, you don't see enough of that. So whoever that was, I can't. It's one of the. It's spotted top. I don't know. I can't.
Stuart, we've been in lockdown for a while, and we've been doing Zoom tastings for a while, and we're training our customers really well.
It's Pip Stevens.
Yeah, my advice.
Pip Stevens, mixologist. Wow.
My advice is just keep the open flame away from the Navy strength, as we've spoken about.
Yeah. And they'd already drunk the Navy strength, mate. They're blind. They've got no idea what's going on.
It's all gone.
They're sitting on the floor, mate.
Yeah. This is what happens when you give them too much gin. It's just by the time you get to the 4th drink, it's all lighting shit on fire.
They haven't even managed to get onto the couch. Like I like it. See, that's what that is it's pre-vetting yourself in many ways, isn't it? It's like, I'm going to end up on the floor anyway. So why don't I start on the floor?
Take out the middleman.
I mean, I'm going to be less likely to be injured at any stage throughout Saturday night. Good on you, Pip. If every Zoom call has a winner, Pip, you've won. You've won today's Zoom. I don't know, there's a prize. You get to go to Glengarry and you get to choose any Michter's whiskey product that you like, and you don't get any discount. Sorry, I don't have that power, I'm afraid. Classy Pip, that's it. Keep going, Chesney. You're classy as well, mate.
Thank you very much. All right, so are we all kind of done with the Negronis? We all feel good about having tried it? We're all done? I think I'm ready to move on. Okay. So we're moving on now from, I think those are all our signature serves, and I hope you can kind of acknowledge how each of those is really a gin that's perfectly created to make a gin that is, to make a cocktail that is perfectly suited to it. So we're going to steady on now to a gin that Stu alluded to earlier, which is the Spice Trade Gin. So this one was made in collaboration with an Indian distillery from Goa called Stranger and Sons. And the story goes that I think they won, I can't remember which year it was, Stu, that they won the best international. What was the story?
Yeah, they went well in our they went well this year actually, and last year in the IWSC. They didn't actually win the big trophy, but they were finalists. And we just had a dream of making a gin that was, that sort of paid homage to India and Indian spices. So we were going to go, and basically we wanted a free trip to India. Right? Let's not beat around the bush. I've never been to India. I googled gin distilleries in India. They came up. I thought, oh, they're in Goa. That seems like a nice place to go. And that's exactly how it started. And they do make beautiful gins. They've got great stills. They're really good guys. And the whole idea was that we would make a gin with them using some of their Indian spices. This is actually the first gin we ever made that, for instance, has actual chili in the botanical basket. And it's got some beautiful other Indian spices as well, some black cardamom. And we wanted to make a gin with them. Like, we wanted to go to India and make the gin with them, but we haven't been able to travel. So we sort of made this over Zoom, if you like, but it's a really beautiful gin. This is my favourite gin and tonic at the moment, with good Indian tonic, right? So it's an Indian gin, so it goes great with a lighter style Indian tonic. Oh, that goes pretty well, that Burmese tonic. A wedge of lime and some salt, because the Indians love using salt, right? Because salt adds flavour. And this is just an amazing little gin with an amazing little gin. It's a one-off. We will never make it again. So I just think it's something worth. I'm really glad that you're having a look at it, because it's a bit of a rare beast. Not a lot of people have seen it. We didn't make very much of it, and I'm glad that some of it's got over the pond. This gin and tonic with salt and lime is a killer. It's my favourite gin and tonic right now. God, I hope that's what we're suggesting people do.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, and I think one of the things that makes this gin so kind of unique is, as Stu was saying, those Indian spices. So we're looking at fresh red chili. There's even green Szechuan peppers in there. There's ginger. So a lot of those Asian and Indian spices that really just fill out the flavor, and it's so like bright and powerful. It's really quite an enjoyable one. There's also, again, there's macadamia and there's cashew as well to really fill out that kind of the silkiness and the texture, and it really is just really, really enjoyable. Do we have any questions about that gin at this point?
Stuart, why a one-off? I mean, that's brilliant.
Look, I'm glad you like it. We started probably 3 or 4 years ago doing a collaboration with a distillery somewhere else in the world, where we basically wanted to take a family holiday and write it off for tax. And we did one in Sweden with a little distillery called Herno, Herno, and we went over to Sweden and made a gin with them, and then they came and made a gin with us in Healesville. Both gins have now been released and have sold through, and they're both delicious. We then did one with the Kyoto distillery, with Kenobi, and we went over to Japan, sort of looked at all their botanicals and everything else, but we made a gin here with Alex, their distiller. And the plan was to then go back to Japan and make a gin under their label in Japan. The same idea was with India. We would go over to India and make a gin with them, and then they would come over and make a gin with us. So it was never intended. What we try to do with these collaborations, we tend to use ingredients often for the first time, see how they go, see how we like them in a gin, see how they end up, what sort of drinks they end up making. And with the Japanese gin, interestingly, that's where we started doing all this stuff with yuzu. Right? We've been playing around with fresh yuzu now since we made the gin with Kyoto, because it's such an incredible citrus. And we just released a tiny amount, I don't think any got into New Zealand, of a gin where we sub out all of the oranges and put in yuzu, which is a sort of a lemony, sort of small citrus, really, really power packed, very flavoursome. It's this one here. That's it there, which you probably can't see. There's not a lot of difference, but you can see that it's got a yuzu on the side. It's a really beautiful citrus. So what we tend to do with these experimental gins is find some things that we like. So with this, it was that tepal, and it was the chili, and it was this whole idea of making a spice trade type of gin, if you like, because gin and tonic, as most people know, has got a really, a really strong connection to India as well, because Indian tonic was intended to be something that would cure people of malaria or any other sort of tropical diseases, as many know. And that's what that's where a gin and tonic basically came from. The tonic was meant to be with the quinine in it from the Kimpusa tree, so the bark of that tree, which was always called the fever tree. And that's why fever tree tonic is called fever tree. There's a bit of facts for you that you weren't expecting. Yeah, interesting. Even Pip didn't know that. Hashtag mixologist. Pip, you didn't know that, did you? No.
Very cool, thank you.
Cool.
Sorry, my favourite collaboration is your one with Kyoto Distillery. I like this, but that one was definitely my favourite.
Yeah, it's an amazing gin. Unfortunately, it's all sold out. And one day we hope to have a Kyoto gin that they make with us that they release in their packaging. Maybe no, it won't be next year. When are we going to be able to go back to Japan? It's not going to be anytime soon, is it?
Hopefully soon, and can't wait.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, well, I think if we've all kind of gotten our heads around the amazingness of the spice trade gin, maybe we'll move on to our final gin. I know it's going to tickle Stu's fancy, and I'd also like to formally apologize for dropping the ball on the slides a few times. I'm just so enamored with your beautiful faces on the side of my screen that I just get distracted, you know? All right, so the final one, pop a little bit of this in a glass, and it's also, if you want, you can even just go straight ahead and put an ice cube and we'll have it on the rocks and kind of enjoy it, is the Sherry Cask Gin. So yeah, I see Stu's eyebrows rising. I know he's a fan of the barrel age. But anyway, so Four Pillars has 42 barrels that run in a Solera system where they move the gin through each of those to give such a full old body flavor to the gin, and a really strong wood character that comes through, as well as that beautiful residual sherry flavor that comes through too, and a little bit of toastiness from the barrel. So absolutely stunning gin. It's aromatic as all hell, and it makes it as a great whiskey substitute. So you can use it in old fashions and things like that, and it's just such a banging one to finish on. Stu, do you have any velvet words for this?
Barrel aging gin is an interesting exercise because, you know, from our winemaking background, we love putting things into oak and just seeing what happens. And I'm also, as you may not be able to see over my shoulder here, I came into this gin game as a fairly enthusiastic whiskey drinker. So we just love finding old barrels that might have had old whiskey in them, they might have had old muscat in them, so sort of some fortified wine, particularly from sort of northeast Victoria, which we very much love. And it's just a lot of fun seeing how the flavors evolve over time. We've actually just released a sherry cask in maybe this week in Australia, like literally just a couple of 100 bottles of a single cask that's been the gin in which has been about 4.5 years. Yeah, so you really are heading into that whiskey territory. And while we only make gin, one of the things I think is important is we're gin makers. We're gin distillers. We don't make rye. We don't make whiskey. We don't make vodka or anything else. But we do love barrel aging our gins, and we do like making different flavors and everything else. And I just noticed on the Glengarry website, you have a tiny bit of this product as well, which is our Christmas gin. So that's called an Australian Christmas gin, and that has just arrived. Please tell me I'm right. I just was on your website. We're
just waiting for it to hit the shelves, right? I'm not sure what Glengarry's angle is on it, but it's,
that is gin rested in old muscat barrels, and then we add a little bit of muscat to it before we bottle it. So it's got a tiny bit of residual sweetness, and we say it smells like Christmas and it smells like gin and tastes like Christmas. Because in Australia, at least, and probably in New Zealand as well, it's probably the only time of the year where you drink fortified wines, where you have muscats and tokais and ports and all that sort of stuff. Because your grandpa, who's not alive, obviously, but were he to be alive, or your father, or your uncle, or whatever it is, always gets out that ridiculous bottle of muscat or fortified port or whatever the hell it is, and you feel like you have to drink it. And I mean, you know, and then the rest of Christmas is mainly what happens with pip. I suppose you just end up on the floor lying down, drunk. I mean, happy Christmas to you all. I mean, it's inevitably going to be disappointing, and there's going to be a fight. It's Christmas Day. Let's not lie. So you might as well have a decent drink just before you descend into fraternal bitterness about that fight you had when you were 12. Anyway. How upbeat. Wow. Hey, Chaz, it's your turn, mate. I've really put the glow of Christmas around everyone. I've really built the halo of Christmas, haven't I?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not looking forward to it anymore. No, joking. But I do apologize because the intention was to get Christmas gin to you guys for this tasting. Unfortunately, the way that shipping works, that wasn't possible. We couldn't get it off the ship in time to get to you guys. But I really do hope that we've given you a little bit of an enticement to get out and try it, because it's bloody awesome, and I just can't wait for people to get involved. It's a cracker every year, so I can't wait for it. I can't wait to give everyone a chance to try it, and Stu dangle it in front of everyone like a carrot.
Am I going to get in trouble for bringing something up that they don't have in front of them?
No, not at all. That was going to address that anyway, because it was really our best intention to try and get it out to you guys. But yeah, I'll blame it on New Zealand customs and coronavirus.
I don't know how you people are traveling, but I'm still on the bloody Negroni, mate. I'm about 7 drinks behind. I don't know. You Kiwis can sink piss fast. Seriously. Wow. I'm impressed.
Well, it might be 3:13 for you, Stu, but it's 5:13 for us. So it's 10 o'clock.
You're like a nation of Payne Williamsons. Fast. I'm a fan of your bloody Shiraz gin. Good on you, Kay. I'm a fan of it too. I'm a fan of Kay's. How do you drink it? I drink it with tonic and lemon, or I drink it with lemon tonic, which is, in old school terms, bitter lemon. So bloody Shiraz gin is this purple thing here. This is what Kay's asking about, which is just gin, at that rare dry gin, the first one that we made there. Basically soaked in Shiraz grapes for about 8 weeks. So basically you just pour a whole lot of gin over the top of Shiraz grapes. Someone in England who was a bit of a wanker, I'm just going to cut to the chase there, said to me, well, exactly what's the proportion of gin that you pour over the Shiraz grapes? I said, an Australian measurement, it's a shit ton. And anyway, basically pour a whole lot of gin over Shiraz grapes, and it doesn't ferment, it doesn't become wine, because the high proof gin just kills all the yeast. Yeah, so basically you just extract all the colour and fruitiness and flavour and deliciousness out of the Shiraz grapes, and you end up with what's called bloody Shiraz gin. And we now produce more Shiraz than any single winery in the Yarra Valley, and we don't make a single bottle of wine. But I have it with lemon tonic, or I have it over ice, or I have it in a little cocktail. I basically think anything is better with Campari added. So I'll add Campari and lemon juice to it, and a bit of soda. Because if you love this, I just basically look for any excuse to add Campari to things. So I literally wish we'd invented Campari. I mean, I'd obviously be a billionaire and I'd be a hot Italian. But yeah, there we go. Shut up, Stu.
There's a side business opportunity for you, Stu.
How good's Campari? I'm sorry, but how good's Campari? I mean, Campari's awesome. Like, if you just get bored, just have Campari and soda. It's just awesome. I mean, put gin in it, and then it's pretty much halfway to a Negroni. It's 2/3 of a Negroni. Boom. It's an Americano with gin. So it's not an Americano at all, because there's no vermouth. Am I leading this to a place that we were hoping that we wouldn't arrive at?
I don't think so, Stu. I think that's great. But I think we've probably had an opportunity to try all the gins, and I hope you guys have all learned a lot. I hope you've enjoyed a lot. I have done so, even just being here and forgetting to change the slides. So if you can take that, then I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Stu, for helping us out today. I think that's pretty much everything I have to say. Look out for that Christmas gin when it hits the shelves, because we're trying to push it out there so that you guys have access to it. So yeah, I really do appreciate you all coming along, and thank you, Glengarry, for making this amazing pack. You guys all have these wonderful sheets, so wonderfully done. And Tickety Boo's contribution as well, the distributor, done a fantastic job. So yeah, I think I appreciate everyone. So let me know if you have any other questions, and we can have a discussion.
I want to thank the Glengarry team, because they're awesome. You're incredible, you Glengarry guys. I want to thank everyone who actually went and bought one of the kits. You're all incredible. Thank you so much. And good luck on Monday morning. There's a tiny bit of me that's going to be going for the Kiwis. Now, who wanted to say something?
I'll just jump in real quick and just talk about the Christmas gin and stuff. We've got that online now, so you can pre-purchase it. We're expecting it in stores on Monday or Tuesday. The initial plan for this tasting was to include the Christmas gin and the brand new RTD as well. That's just about to launch next week as well. But as Chesney said, it's been at the Auckland ports for 2 weeks. So we made the call last weekend to change the lineup. You'll notice no bloody Shiraz in today's lineup, because it's sold out again and is in the same container. So hence the different lineup today, but maybe we'll just do this again next weekend if you're around.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mate, I mean, I got nothing else to do. I'll be back.
Where am I going to go?
Cool. Hey, thank you all. Stuart, Chesney, brilliant presentation. And I think, you taste through all of these, and I would have to confess, I love gin. And I've tasted most of these. There's a couple that I haven't tried, and they're just epic. So I'm so pleased to have tried them all this afternoon. and really pleased that we could try them with all of these customers online. So thank you to everyone for joining us. I see someone's just made a note that the Christmas gin is there, but you can't purchase it. T and I are both online. One of us will make the button go the way that it needs to go so that you can purchase it. There you go, T's already done it.
I get in 10 minutes.
Cool. But hey, thanks everyone. And if you've enjoyed this afternoon and want to do more of this kind of thing, we are doing more Zoom tastings through until December, and are not planning at this stage to actually do in-person tastings in the rest of this calendar year. And we'll probably come back to that next year. So have a look on our website. We've got a whole lot of virtual tastings up there, and we've got a couple more to add yet. But yeah, thanks everyone, and I'll unmute you all, or in fact you can unmute yourselves, and if you've got any comments or anything you'd like to share with Chesney or Stuart, go for it.
Welcome, come on, come all.
No, we really enjoy it. We've got some good friends, so we'll keep doing this.
And we'll make sure that they get to share it as well, because it's awesome.
It's really good. Well done, guys.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having us, guys. And I'm going to be, if they let me in, I'm coming over in April. There you go.
Well, I hope you can make it, and I hope they let you know.
And yes, Liz, I'm going to try to get to Wellington, and I will most definitely be a couple of days in Auckland.
Perfect.
Chesney's going to look after me. I'm just going to sit on the floor at Liz's place.
We're going to get a wagon. We're going to put Stu in the wagon and going to take him around the viaduct.
I love Auckland. I have a lot of fun when I come to New Zealand. We're going to have a great time. So I'll see you in April. Go well.
Oh, thanks, Stuart.
And thanks everyone for supporting Four Pillars. Like, go drink some great craft Aussie gin, some great craft Kiwi gin, whatever you like. It's really great to see the support. So thanks heaps to all of you. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Stuart, have you seen that setup that Kay's got there?
Kay, hang on, show me Kay. With Kay. Dawn and Kay? Oh no, Kay, the letter K. Yeah, let me have a look. Oh my God. He certainly has someone who doesn't appear to be 18 years old. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, oh, there we go. Beautiful. That is one of the most impressive setups I think I've seen at any tasting in history. And I'm not going to lie, a Run DMC shirt, and that is absolutely gold. Oh, and some guns as well. Not just the run, but the gun. You know what? That's a fucking big afternoon you've got in front of you right there. Look at that. There'll be no going down to Ponsonby for you this afternoon, will there? No, we're just going to sit at home and get really drunk on our own and eat chips.